Alright, how's it going everyone, and welcome to another video. Now, it's been a while since I've really talked about anything Steam Deck related, but with all of the handheld leaks, with like stuff like the Z2 Extreme that's coming out with the really anticipated RDNA 4, if I'm not mistaken, or 3 graphics, as well as the Switch 2, I kind of want to just sit down and just discuss about Valve's next move and, the Steam Deck 2 or whatever we're calling it, and just kind of talk about what I want in it if Valve is going to be releasing this type of device within the next year. And honestly, if Valve is even going to respond to these next generation PC handhelds for the most part. So yeah, let's get into it. So Steam Deck 2, right? This is a system that honestly I've been heavily anticipating, like the next iteration of Valve's Steam Deck. I've had nothing but good things about the Steam Deck, really positive experience in, from their excellent customer support to just how well designed the Steam Deck is for the majority of more casual gamers and a more casual console-like experience. I think Valve just absolutely nailed it out of the park. And when it comes to like a second generation product of this line, honestly, I don't have any major asks. Honestly, a lot of these things are just little things to help really enhance the quality and usage of the Steam Deck. But for the most part, there's nothing really too major that I want. So just want to quickly go over what I'm wishing for. So first off, I really hope that the Steam Deck 2 has a variable refresh rate display. I applaud Valve for at least giving us a 90 Hz display on the Steam Deck OLED, and I hope they bring that forward to the Steam Deck 2, but what I really want is a variable refresh rate. And variable refresh rate displays are things that we've seen in like the ROG Ally, and it's proved to be very useful, especially for these types of devices that can't push sometimes that high refresh rate. So being able to take advantage of that variable refresh rate by addressing smoothness and avoiding any potential stutters or anything like that with lower frame rates and inconsistent frame rates should help really smooth out the Steam Deck experience, especially with how the hardware is currently. Another thing I do want to see is a slightly smaller form factor. Like, I still think the Steam Deck is probably the best feeling handheld out of the current generation of PC handhelds and just console handhelds in general, but for what it is, it's definitely a chunky boy, and it's not a device that I tend to bring out for long sessions just because of how big it is. With the ROG Ally, I do enjoy bringing that out a lot more just because it's a slightly smaller footprint. So I think Valve can really push the size reduction and make it into a smaller package. And I think that would help a lot with just carrying it around from day to day and just make it more practical in my personal opinion. So yeah, that's number 2. Number 3 for me is a second USB-C port, mainly for convenience sake, being able to use 2 USB-C accessories without having to use a dongle would be really nice. And something that would be really cool to see is that maybe put the USB-C on the bottom and then make a dock that docks it on the bottom, kind of like the Nintendo Switch. So you have basically a cordless kind of docking experience when it comes to the Steam Deck, which would be really nice and, really tie into that hybrid console kind of fantasy that I think it's trying to really achieve there. I would love to see eGPU support as well, but having the extra USB-C port just to have extra accessories honestly is like my number 1 thing for this one. And number 4 for like my big 4 really is just more RAM, especially with how demanding games are right now with video RAM and how the APU has to share the RAM between the CPU and GPU. The ROG Ally X was a good start with 24, and honestly, I think 24 is a pretty sufficient enough increase for whatever the next generation Steam Deck is, considering the hardware. I think 24 is a good place to put it. Maybe 32, but I think 32 is really kind of overkill, especially for the hardware that this kind of PC handheld will run games at. So I think 24 is sufficient enough. Just having that extra RAM there though will help definitely in smoothing out the performance of the Steam Deck or whatever Steam Deck 2 is. As I'm continuing talking about this wish list, like some other things I've been thinking about wanting is like stuff like a bigger battery for longer battery life and all that stuff. All these features in mind, it really sounds like I just want a ROG Ally X that runs SteamOS. And with how that is actually factual in the fact that Valve actually confirmed that they will be supporting SteamOS on the ROG Ally in the near future. Admittedly, this kind of wish list already kind of exist in real life right now, but the Steam Deck has some very unique quirks that the ROG Ally doesn't, right? Stuff like the dual trackpads, you know. There's also the amazing OLED display, great efficiency with lower TDPs, and the superior customer support, especially with how bad it got for Asus over the past couple of months. So while I acknowledge and applaud the improvements that Asus have been doing with the ROG Ally, I would rather still wait for Valve to release a Deck 2, not just because of the potential performance improvements with like RDNA 4 on the mobile scene, but also because of those unique quirks that make the Steam Deck unique and in my opinion better than the ROG Ally. But with that in mind, right, does this next generation Steam Deck even exist, right? I know I've been talking about speculation and just wish list of features right now, but you know, Valve has been overall very quiet on a Steam Deck 2. For the most part, we've only heard talks from Valve and Gaben about like potential Steam Deck 2 features, but nothing really concrete in terms of like what this thing is going to be like. Right now, it's very hard to judge what their next step is and if they're even pressured to release something soon. You know, for all we know, they could wait 3, 4, 5 years for a Steam Deck 2, or maybe they release it within the next year because they see the Switch 2 as a potential competitor. So, you know, it's kind of tough to say right now. For me personally, I'm just really hoping that this thing comes out sooner rather than later, hopefully 2025, just because we're in a very strange era of PC gaming where games are just asking for ridiculous PC hardware to just run at a stable 60 FPS. But with that said, like I noted before, we don't know what's going on with this next gen deck, you know. We'll just have to wait and see for an official statement from Valve about this next gen Steam Deck, but this video is just meant to entertain the idea of this device if it even exists. So please keep that in mind and do not make any final assumptions based on the stuff that I talk about here. So wanted to just kind of talk about it just because the Steam Deck has been on my mind recently on some content ideas, and it's really just been, you know, making me think about and wanting a brand new Steam Deck because of how fast the PC handheld space has been progressing. So really excited to see what Valve can do there, but we'll have to wait and see. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Later.